Forever. Dog.
Hello, and welcome to Outgrown, where we have guests on to discuss something from popular culture that they used to profoundly identify with and once thought would define them forever, but then eventually outgrew. Hi, Tom.
Hi, Julia Vickerman. How are you?
Yes, Tom Scharpling. I'm doing fantastic.
For anybody who doesn't know, this is Julia Vickerman.
I'm doing very well today. How are you doing?
I'm good.
Good.
I'm very excited about this episode.
Me too.
Because this is, when we started talking about the show, one of the first names we kicked around was having this guest on to talk about something. We didn't even know what.
Mm-hmm.
And then first he said he would do it, which is exciting enough. But then when he said, well, let's talk about this.
Even more exciting.
Our heads collectively exploded on this one. But no, we have a really talented, great writer. Many shows you enjoy he is writing on, and he's a really funny guy. Edgar Momplaisir is here. How are you, Edgar?
I'm all right. I'm doing well.
So thanks for doing this. It's very exciting.
Very excited. I just want to say real quickly, you guys have perfect voices for hosting things.
Really?
I think so.
Coming from you.
I was going to say.
This is a solid trio in people's ears right now.
Okay, look, we should just walk into some voiceover talent agency and say, you sign all three of us.
Absolutely.
On the spot. Just like it's in the package deal.
Yeah, I think we could do like morning radio in like a small town somewhere.
Yeah.
That would be perfect for me. Very low stakes.
Yeah.
Do traffic.
Yeah, so Edgar, what are we going to be talking about today?
Christian rock.
Oh, yeah. All right, cool. So what age were you when you first started to enjoy Christian rock music?
I mean, I think on some level I always enjoyed it.
Really?
Yeah. I grew up very, very, very religious. Like I think we've talked about that before, Tom. But I grew up in a religion called Seventh-day Adventism. Are you guys okay? Yeah, those are the nods of like, oh, those freaks.
I don't actually know a ton of details.
Yeah. I think like the big detail is that we go to church on Saturday instead of Sunday. And
yes.
we're quite prideful. I don't know why I'm saying we. I'm not in it anymore. You're out, Edgar.
Sure.
We're very prideful about it. Friday sundown to Saturday sundown. No secular things, no outside worldly things. I wasn't allowed to hang out with my friends, wasn't allowed to watch television. It had to be something that was either church or God focused.
Oh, wow.
Sure. I mean, to be fair, though, what would you be doing with your friends on Friday or Saturday? I mean, that would be any. I'm kidding.
Oh yeah, I was like,
one day,
Little League.
That's literally the one stretch.
We could use the next hour with examples.
Yeah, I missed all that.
So,
shit.
and where were you living at this point?
So I was born in New York City, and we lived in like the Bronx and then in Yonkers at some point. So as suburby as New York could get.
Sure.
And then when I was 14, we moved to McAllen, Texas, where it's like the border of Mexico. You've probably heard about it. Whenever a politician is talking about border security, they like to go to McAllen and take pictures with Border Patrol. Except for Kamala, she's never been there. I went to high school there, and I feel like because I also went to Adventist school a majority of my life, except for 2 years in high school, that kind of Christian rock and like Christian youth culture has always been a big part of my life. Okay. Sadly.
Wow.
Did it accelerate when you moved to Texas, or what was it like? What was it like to be in that culture in New York versus Texas?
In New York, it was a little bit more diverse. I think that culture, it was like I went to, not only did I go to Adventist school, it was also like all these Caribbean kids. So everyone, my parents are from Haiti, why I have the last name that I have. And everyone was like very Caribbean at that school. So it was like we were all in it. And I would say it wasn't necessarily Christian rock, it was more gospel, right? Like a little bit more black and fun, I guess, to listen to. And then, in Texas, it skewed a little bit more rock and stuff like that. Okay. But I think it got harder for my parents to keep me inside of that culture because in New York, I rarely went anywhere without them. And it's like very like tight and closed, where in Texas, school was like an hour away by car or something like that. Or it was it was harder for them to keep up with where I was because it was so vast and wide. And
Did you take the bus to school during that hour?
no, my mom would drop me off. She'd drive that hour.
So, wow, that's a long time with your mom in the car.
Yeah, it wasn't fun.
Was that like religious music time?
Religious music the whole way. I can't remember what the station was, but yeah, I would listen to Christian rock, and even sometimes my mom would change it because the drums were too much for her.
Whoa!
Yeah, my mom did not like the drums.
So,
she thought that was not okay in church.
What was the entertainment in the house when growing up? Like what was approved, acceptable television, movies, music? What were the things that you were allowed to do, and what were the things that you were just like, that's not good?
So Monday through Friday before sundown, most things were okay. You know what I mean? Like we watched Disney Channel like every other kid and stuff like that. Some magic stuff wasn't cool. Like my mom was like against the Harry Potter books because magic is sinful and you shouldn't be in that. It's very demonic.
The wizards.
Yeah, there was like one time someone in church said that Pokemon was the devil, so we lost our Pokemon cards for like a week.
A week.
That's like let's not power past that. Pokemon is the devil.
The devil, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Someone told her that every Pokemon was a demon, like one of Satan's demons, and so she was like shook by that. But
it only took her a week to get over it.
So like a lot of the times we were banned from things. The issue were my parents were immigrants that were like incredibly not tech savvy, so they needed our help with the computer, and we could bargain our way back to certain things.
Oh wow!
Were you ever just like, oh yeah, you can't do that on a computer. Like just like kind of controlling the narrative a little bit.
She had us set the parental code on the TV. So
that's not how that works.
No, yeah, we knew what it was. Yeah. We're like, we helped you do this.
Yes. Yeah, you're just like, yes, you can't watch. Sure, you can't watch that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And she's like, is that a good code? I'm like, that's a great code. I love that code. Yeah, let's do that code. But then Friday sundown is when it was just like, okay, these things go away. So Friday sundown was there's a show called VeggieTales. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the show.
Where's My Hairbrush?
That's a Christian show. There's this other show called Superbook that was about these kids that get tossed into Bible times. There's also a Hanna-Barbera cartoon that was about these young cats not cats, but like young kids who are doing an archaeological dig. I think it's called The Greatest Story Ever Told.
Okay.
And then like they fall into a sand dune, and then that sends them back into the Bible times as well. A kind of recurring theme. And then there was
good old days.
Yeah. And then there was this Adventist so we had satellite, we had Dish, and Dish also had a Christian satellite option as well.
Okay.
And this one was called 3ABN, and it was an Adventist broadcasting, like not only channel, it was like a whole group of channels.
Okay.
And that was on Saturdays. And so like there'd be like Adventist cooking shows. There's an Adventist children's show in the morning, and like it was all Adventist programming all the time. And that would be what we would watch from Friday night to Saturday night.
Wow. What would an Adventist cooking show be like? Like what's the difference?
So we don't eat pork.
Okay.
We don't eat seafood, and you try to be vegetarian. Like that's like kind of like so like it would be like vegetarian. Like sometimes we would eat oat pancakes rather than like, any pancakes that use like milk in the product or anything like that. And then instead of dressing, you'll do like a strawberry kind of a thing. Like I ate very healthy growing up.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds good, actually.
I hated it. I was like, just give me some Fruit Loops or like Apple Jacks.
Well, yeah, you're a kid also. But like when you have the choice, you're just kind of like, oh, that sounds like it could be like awesome. But then when you don't have the choice, you're just like, I don't want this. Is all I can have. Yeah.
Well, to your point, there's a city in California. It's called Loma Linda. It's a very large concentration of Adventists. It is a blue zone, and what a blue zone is on average, there's a significant population that lives over the age of 100.
Wow.
And they attributed that to like the Adventist lifestyle.
Wow, that's really interesting.
No smoking, no drinking. Eating healthy,
no
exercise, no Pokemon, which we know takes years of your life.
Yeah, shaves years off.
Yeah, not running around, walking into a car wash trying to catch Pokemon. So those are the things you could do. Were there ever times when friends who were not in the Adventist scene were into something and you were just feeling the culture clash with that?
Yeah. No, I mean, like we weren't allowed to go to the movies. That was like a big thing. My parents believed that your angel waited on the outside of the movie
Okay.
theater. And
Wait.
So your angel could not come into the
yeah,
theater.
the angel, like he's always watching you, except for if you're in the movie theaters.
That's the one
That's
place?
the one. I mean, I imagine a strip club was probably on the
I'd
list.
say maybe.
was
There
gonna
might be a
say,
few
that
things
wasn't
on the
something that
I
list.
feel
was
like there are
doing.
some places maybe
Yeah,
worse
not
than
just
a
a
movie
movie
theater.
theater.
Wait, okay, so
Yeah.
that's they believe that there's a guardian angel following you
Yeah,
everywhere?
I think yes, but like I'm also just like, did they really? Like I think that on some degree that they thought that God was always watching over you.
Mhm.
But like, yeah, movie theaters was a thing that we weren't allowed to do. Like anything on Saturdays, like truly like Little League. Like my
Okay.
friends were all in Little League. I
Mhm.
wasn't allowed to do that.
Okay.
There's a story I tell about in high school. We were playing a basketball game on Friday because we were on JV.
I can
So
already
the-
see this is horrible.
And so my mom comes to the game. It's at like 5.
Oh no.
6:30, it's halftime. The sun goes down, and my mom walks across the court and tells the coach they're done, and walks us off of the court. And we get into the car. And remember, this girl follows us and goes, "You guys are just gonna leave?" And we're like, "What do you want us to do?" Like she pulled us out of the game because the sun set in the middle of the game.
That is wild.
Yeah.
How did that go over?
We hated it. I mean, I think that like if she was more loose about it, I feel like there's a chance that I could still be Adventist today. But like how strict it was just made me hate it straight up.
Right.
Yeah.
So you were just you felt when it's immovable like that, where there's no bending, then you're all in or you're all out.
And then so what's also like kind of fascinating about it is that like Adventism almost follows cultural and like culturally geographical true things. So what I mean by that is like when we were in New York and we were in this like very Caribbean, very like it was like on Friday night to Saturday night, you're not allowed to buy things. Like it was very strict about it. Then when we moved to Texas, it got a little less strict about certain things. Like for example, you could go out to a restaurant after church. That's okay. When I went out to California and I went to an Adventist college as well, it was like jeans in church and like real loose guitars and stuff like that because it's a lot more liberal out here, right? So the interpretation of Adventism is like way more liberal.
Yeah.
And how did that like sit with you when you were younger, when you were seeing like inconsistencies or like
It
you're
just poked holes all over the place,
Yeah.
right? Like it was just like, well, why was the church back in New York so much more strict, and then here it's loose, and then in California, like, are these people in California all going to hell for some reason?
Sure.
Or
We
like,
absolutely
and
are.
like so.
because on a foundational level, the beliefs transcend geographical differences.
Right.
But you're picking up on these pretty extreme differences depending on where you're living. So that's a real like a jarring like when you just like a reality clash where it's just like
Like a contradiction almost.
exactly.
Yeah.
But like
I-
cognitive dissonance. I think is what I
Yeah,
was trying to
yeah,
say.
absolutely. I
So-
mean, I think also a truth about it is that you just have to be like reasonable. So like in New York, it was a full suit and tie like all the time, which works. It's cold.
Yeah.
In Texas,
And that's New York also. New York
yeah,
people walk around a little more
absolutely
a
up,
little
dressed
done
up.
Yeah.
You do that in Texas, you're gonna die of heat. Like right
Yeah.
now, it's like 120. So you like people would wear just a shirt and a tie and like a nice dress shirt still and stuff like that. And then in California, like I promise you, dudes would show up like with Vans and jeans. And I'd be like,
That's- yeah.
this is fucking wild. These
Yeah,
guys
yeah.
are rock stars.
Flip-flops.
Yeah.
So with movies though, to just go back a minute, what are there just huge blind spots for you with movies culturally that you had to catch up to, or you sometimes there's things where like, well, I never saw it, but I know the references to the thing, and I kind of can get by on it.
Yeah.
Like, what were some of the biggest ones for you?
X-Files was like I mean like not X-Files, sorry, Sixth Sense is
Okay.
like I remember like wanting to watch that, and my mom was like, that's the devil, like absolutely not. Like yeah, like I would say like a lot of things I caught because I was at a friend's house or something like that. So like there's like a bunch of movies. I'm trying to think of one that like I've seen 2/3 of, right? Because like I was watching at my friend's house, but then my mom picked me up, so I've never seen the end of that
Wow,
movie.
she's really good at just spoiling the end of
Yeah,
things.
you know, a lot of points in my life she's been not fun.
The end of the movie, the end of the basketball game.
Yeah.
What happened with the game? Did they win or lose without you?
I think we lost that game, but we were always going to lose that game. We were a bad
Well, that's-
team.
yeah.
That's not because of me.
You'd just be like, oh, look, Well, we would have cleaned up if I.
Yeah,
But you're pulling me off the court.
Yeah, no,
I guess we're gonna lose now.
my plus minus wasn't great to begin with, anyway.
Okay. Yeah.
And your parents are still
in it.
feel the same way about
Still in it.
movies.
I've just got a voice call from my mom telling me about how much God watches over me, and
Do they know you work in entertainment?
They're very well aware. Oh man, well, let's just dig into all the trauma. I remember when I told my parents I wanted to do this, that was a big point of contention in the household. My mom sat me down and showed me this sermon that a pastor told that said, "Don't you think it's funny that anytime someone writes in Hollywood, something bad happens to one of their family members?" And I remember her saying, like, "Do you want something bad to happen to me? Is that why you're doing this?"
Wow. I'm like, is that true?
I don't think the numbers add up.
If I knew that was true, some people would go into entertainment and just like, wait, bad stuff will happen to my family?
Bad things just
I'll do
always
that.
happen all the time. So
Yeah.
it's like you
Yeah,
can
exactly.
see what you want to see.
Yeah, I remember one time in church, they were like trying to explain like how like Hollywood brainwashes your kids and they're trying to get them to do demonic worship, right? Like that was like a big thing is that like there's symbols in music videos of like Beyonce worshiping the devil and all that. Like a lot of, I remember like coded, like not coded. I'm sure you guys remember this with like people saying that if you played a rock record backwards, it was trying to give
backward masking is what they call it, where like the record goes this way and it's the normal record. When you go this way, suddenly it's like Satan is my master. So
we had a lot of that stuff. And I remember there was like a bit that like Jon Stewart and Colbert did at the Emmys where like Colbert comes out and goes, "Welcome to worshiping Bathsheba," or whatever. Like he's like being funny, like making fun of the fact that like, why are we all excited about a statue? And they play that in church like sincerely. But I was just like, I think he's joking. Like I think he's just being satirical.
Sure.
But
so this is you're basically living. You're allowed certain things, other things no go. But with music, what was music that was acceptable and what was unacceptable?
I mean, music was the hardest. Like that, if you want to talk about like blind spots and things that I'm missing out, like I didn't start listening to hip hop until 2004, 2005. I'm born in 91, so that's a long time, right? Like Tupac, Biggie, out. Like obviously I was younger, but like there's a lot of things culturally that I feel like I just missed out on music wise because my parents had that was like their tightest leash, I think, and it was because I think my mom sang in the church. She's a singer and she loves music. So like, like Weezer, all that shit I didn't listen to until deep in college when I had access to YouTube.
So with hip hop, you would have been just like, well, of course, Ja Rule invented hip hop,
right?
Because that's like the first thing you were allowed.
Kanye West was the first rapper I ever listened to.
But that's wild, though. It's it's such an interesting thing to have this ahistorical thing because you didn't grow up with it as a kid. You jumped on
very late
into things.
I was like in 8th grade, but I still think that's super fucking late. And it's like all these like songs that everyone's just like, yeah, I remember you heard this at the barbecue. I'm like, I didn't hear that shit at all. Like I don't know what this song is. And
are there certain ones would you admit it when you met people? Would you kind of blur it a little bit?
I think I blur it a little bit because I think it also like leads into like me feeling like I'm not black enough. Like, you know what I mean? So like I kind of just like hide it and just like bob my head along like, yeah, I love Bone Thugs and Harmony. Couldn't tell you a single one,
and
who they are.
Then you're just like Bone Thugs and Harmony.
Exactly. You know what I mean? And it's even more frustrating the fact that I was in New York City for like all of this. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
that's the craziest
like a cultural thing. You could have seen so many shows.
Yeah. And
it's the place. Like I grew up in New Jersey, so I was 40 minutes away from New York. And from being a kid, it was always like everything's happening there.
Right.
Everything's happening.
Right.
Saturday Night Live is there.
Right.
David Letterman is like, they're all happening there. Like there's amazing movie theaters, there's concerts, all the stuff. Everything's happening. There's Broadway. It's like it is like the cultural epicenter, one of the on the planet. It's one of the biggest places.
And Satan's just all over.
And he's
and he kept me from all of it. You know what I mean? Like I didn't see a Broadway show until later in life. I still have yet to see a Yankees game. Never saw a Knicks game.
Oh wow! So like Broadway was also
all that stuff. It's secular. You know what I mean? Like anything that was secular, I just wasn't allowed. We were allowed to listen to Radio Disney because I was like very kiddie. So then like, you know, I have this a little bit more white facing, like, you know, Aaron Carter, that's safe, or
R.I.P.
R.I.P.
R.I.P. Yeah, he was. Isn't it ironic that that's one of the most troubled souls,
I know.
and that was acceptable? Like this poor kid is just beyond damaged.
I mean, all
Yeah.
of them,
Yeah,
right? Like
all-
all
yeah.
those Disney kids
They're
are
like
like,
forced to support their families. And,
Yeah.
yeah, but like they weren't singing about like banging or like drugs or whatever. So it was cool, even though they were doing all that shit on the side. But yeah, so it was a very tight grip, especially on music. Yep.
So when did Christian rock enter the picture for you?
Like I said, I think like from like I remember there was this artist called Carmen that we were obsessed with as kids because he was like this like Christian singer. Like I guess like the way it was almost like a Christian Frank Sinatra, and like we were like obsessed with him. Thought he was so cool, and I think like it became Christian rock when I became a teenager. Right, it was just like, well, now I get to listen to something more edgy, but it wasn't edgy. It was talking about God still, but
it's still just the sound is more yours.
Correct. And so like that's when I started getting into things like DC Talk or Strained or whatever it was, Lifehouse. Who a lot of people don't know.
Lifehouse is a Christian band?
Big
Wow.
time.
Amazing.
Big
What about
time.
Jars of Clay?
Jars of Clay is one I could get away with. Oh man, I can't remember their name right now, but they did this song that's like, we were meant to live for so much more.
Oh, yeah,
Can't
yeah,
remember,
yeah.
But that's a Christian band.
Oh.
That was a band that I was obsessed with as a kid. Yeah, like there was like, so basically any band that you can find in like secular music, Christian rock labels made a Christian version of them.
Wow.
So
fascinating.
Like in a very calculated way.
What about like System of a Down?
So there was a lot of Christian metal, and there was this network called TVU. It was available in this like Christian satellite package that I have. That was just Christian MTV, like TRL, but Christian. No live audience because who's gonna be there for that? But like they had the countdown and everything.
So,
there were these Christian metal bands, and like there was like DC Talk was like what are their names? They're from Brooklyn, white boys, rappers.
BC Boys.
Thank you. They were like the BC Boys equivalent, like these three white guys rapping about God and stuff like that, and like. There was a crossover for everything. I can't remember the name of this band, but like they were like the Nickelback for Christian rock. Like
I
it
feel
was
like
like
Nickelback is so close to being Christian.
absolutely.
Maybe I'm
and
wrong about that.
and that's why I think like the crossover was pretty easy for me
Yeah,
because it's like, oh,
totally.
that sounds the same. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
but
So you would listen to stuff on this satellite
on this
package,
channel, yeah,
this channel.
absolutely.
So you were hearing this, and how satisfying was it to you?
It was absolutely satisfying, and I think that what I'm realizing now is I didn't like it because of God at all. I liked it because of the music. Like
Sure.
the music was like what, like really like I was like, oh, I'm feeling something, and I'm feeling angst, and like like that felt good to me. You know what I mean?
Because a religious teenager is still a teenager.
Absolutely.
And you've still got things firing off in you
Absolutely.
that you got to get out. And
Absolutely. Switchfoot, that was her name.
Switchfoot. Okay. Now, Julia, you had some exposure to certain things in South Carolina.
Yeah. It's like I wasn't raised super religious, but my
Right.
parents did send me to religious schools.
Okay.
So it's like
Catholic school or
No, I went to a Presbyterian elementary school for part
Ooh.
of the time, and then an Episcopalian high school.
okay.
But when we would go to church, we went to Lutheran church. So I kind of got like a little bit of a lot of things. So it's like I didn't know who Jesus or God were until I was like 7 when I moved from public school to a Christian school.
Right.
And like just because I'd get a better education in South Carolina back in the day. We had like a terrible public school system.
Right.
I don't know if they do now. It's probably great now that I'm
Yeah.
gone. But like
Just as an aside, we went to South Carolina a couple of years ago for a few days, and you were showing me around. I've never seen you more disappointed that things weren't as awful as they were when you were a kid. You're like, well, here's the movie theater I used to work at. You're like, oh, it's nice now. Look at this. And you're like, I swear it was a total dump before.
I know now
And look at
everything's
this-
just like, well, I would fucking live here now.
Yeah, you're just like, and this place, this ice cream, this little like outdoor plaza was never here. And
Yeah.
you were just like so kind of
know.
like,
Yeah, a little envious of
Yeah.
how things are now.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, I was extremely excited about Christianity when I
Right.
was younger. Like I would draw Jesus fan art. And
I get it.
my first CD I ever bought was Mahalia Jackson.
Wonderful
yeah.
gospel singer.
Yeah, and I loved Amy Grant's Christian
Love Amy
music.
Grant.
Her song El Shaddai. Her
El
version of that
Shaddai,
was,
El Shaddai,
yeah.
El Donai,
Adonai,
Yeah, I
El
know.
Faisal.
Yeah.
And I'm just like,
Yeah, what
I was
is?
like, yeah, El Shaddai. Of
Yeah,
course.
Tom, what is your exposure to any of this?
It
Because
would
you're
all be-
you're a Catholic boy.
I grew up, but it was such a non-practicing family. My
Right.
family was, I would say, if Edgar's here and you're here, I was here.
That's what I was
with the
gonna
idea. I
ask.
was my mother would be just like, we should go to church. Mom. We should go. Just like, it was like that thing.
Like
And then we
expecting
would-
you guys to be like,
But
yeah,
then we would
Yeah.
like rally and go.
for like 2 days a
to-
year.
we would
Easter,
go like we'd go
Christmas?
on a Sunday, like, okay, we'll go to church. One Sunday, second Sunday, go that. Then they would kind of fall off by the third.
Right.
We'd be kind of just like, well, we just got other stuff to do today. And but it was such a secular house. We were the Easter and Christmas.
Just
we were
enough
the-
to not go to hell.
We were the people that walk into church, and then the faithful who are there every week are just like, here they come. There's no more seats left. They're going to
Right.
stand in the back
Right.
against the wall. It's just like, because they just like, that was us. It really did not have much of an active presence at all with me, but just being a fan of music. And I worked at a music store that sold sheet music. So I was selling a lot of
Right.
Christian music.
Of course.
We're selling a lot of classical stuff, but just a lot of choral things, which is, I mean, so much of that is just basically religious music.
Of course.
And we were dealing with choir groups. So I was secondhand, but I was never like one-to-one connected to
Right.
it. But I
Yeah.
always had an awareness of everything. And like certain artists like Kirk Franklin was
That's my
huge.
guy. That's my
Yeah.
guy. But
But I knew of people. I knew of DC Talk, but I did not actually hear the stuff.
and you're
'cause-
better for that. I want to let you know that.
I don't know.
Like,
Well,
you're better
El
for that.
Shaddai, El Shaddai.
I feel like we're probably similar in the sense that like you maybe don't seek out that music anymore, but when you do listen to it, there is a lot of comfort.
Yeah, so when I do get stressed, I have a gospel playlist. Not a lot of Christian rock on the playlist, a couple of Christian rock songs, but like, yeah, like I listen to that, but it's like purely a calming effect.
Right.
Except my girlfriend has walked in on me listening to it a couple of times, and it's like a deep embarrassment of just
It's
like,
like worse than watching porn.
yeah, and I'm like, hey,
Yeah.
listen, I don't believe any of this stuff. Okay, but
Deep
like, it
shame.
makes me feel
Yeah.
good.
She's like, we gotta go to
Yeah.
therapy.
You quick put porn on.
Yeah.
To be like, she comes in. How'd this? I was watching porn. How'd this
Yeah.
Christian rock thing get
but
on
it's
here?
familiar, right? Like it's
Yeah.
just like, yeah,
Yeah, and
it's
it
the-
reminds you of like simpler times and like when you
course.
thought there was a guy looking out for you.
yeah.
No, it's a very comforting thing to
Yeah.
have these that bring you back to where you were as a kid, because it can make you feel a little more grounded.
100%.
Things are simpler and all
100%.
that stuff. So,
And I don't
these
think
things
I'd
always
be
have
a.
hold on everything.
Oh, so sorry.
Oh no, please.
I don't think I'd be a storyteller without it, because I feel like so many of these songs were just so like epic and like Lifehouse has this song. I want to say it's called Everything, but like if you guys go on YouTube and you look up Lifehouse skit, there was like a skit that like the church or your school would put on that was like all scored by this song, completely quiet pantomime thing that like starts off with like a girl and Jesus and they're dancing and they're happy. But then this girl like gets a boyfriend. So she starts ignoring Jesus a little bit. And that boyfriend, it's so fucked up. I don't know why I was watching this when I was like 15, 16, but he roughs her up a little bit and stuff like that. And then Jesus is there trying to help her, but no, she's in love with his boyfriend. And then she meets a girl who's super beautiful. And that girl's just like, you know how I become beautiful? I make myself vomit. And so she makes
God.
herself vomit a little bit. And then there's a stoner person who comes in, and then Jesus is in the corner watching, like being like, hey, come back to me. And then like she starts smoking weed. And then the stoner person's just like, oh, when I get really sad, and this is all quiet, like this is being acted out. There's no dialogue in this. Stoner person shows her like, you just cut yourself a little bit and that'll make you feel good. And then Jesus is far away, but then those people like all kind of surround her. And I swear to God, they like start beating her up.
Oh my God.
They start beating her up. And that's like when the song starts getting really intense and all this stuff. And then Jesus runs in and opens his arms out like a cross and protects that girl from getting beat up. And then they start beating up Jesus. When
He
we
waited
watched
until
that-
the time was...
until she was in her dire straits. Yeah.
He's like, no, I'm not going to go just yet.
Yeah.
Not yet.
But when we would watch that in high school, like, and if you find, I'll send you guys a link. But
Oh,
like,
I'm going to watch it.
it's like played at like this like big auditorium. Everyone loses their shit when Jesus comes out and like opens his arm. They're like, yeah, that's what he does for you. And like, you know, like, but that's a movie, right? Like that's a story. Like
Yeah.
there's like an
It's
arc
like
to it and all this
Endgame.
stuff.
It's like
Yeah,
Endgame when
absolutely.
things start spinning. Who comes out? It's suddenly like Spider-Man.
On your left. Yeah, absolutely.
It's like, but it is. I mean, I know I'm trying to be funny a little bit with it, but it's like people want to feel things,
Absolutely.
and whether you're feeling it when suddenly, you know, Doctor Strange and Black Panther come out of the spinning thing, or you're feeling it as some group experience at church,
Right.
It's like just being a human. You want connection. You want
Absolutely.
feelings. You want things to make sense. So it's really, I mean, it's not as far off as some people may think.
The lyrics were what was far off, right? Like the lyrics were like what people, but like the music itself. So like I would say the Coldplay equivalent was this band called Mercy Me, and they have this song called I Can Only Imagine. Even thinking about it now makes me like tear up a little bit because it's like the structure of it starts off really soft, like how some Coldplay songs do, and it's like a piano and it's really nice, but then it ramps up into this thing, and you're like you said, you feel something and it's cathartic and there's a release. It's structurally good fucking music.
Yeah.
They're just talking about being obsessed with someone that a lot of people don't think is real.
And then because you're talking about like, you know, the magic of music and the power of all these things. Because the other topic you had suggested we could potentially talk about was fan-made anime music videos.
That's right. Yeah.
Which were also extremely important to me
Yeah.
growing up. And I
Yeah.
used to go, my father would take my brother and I to anime conventions in the South. And we would go, this is back in the day, it would just be like a room full of people. They would just set up a TV in the front and just watch these fan-made music videos. This is when people would
Was
just...
this like a hotel?
Yeah, like a hotel,
Like a ballroom in a
yeah.
hotel.
Yeah.
And it would just like, because back in the day, people were making these videos using 2 VCRs.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like it was even like some of them, if you had digital editing equipment, oh my God, that was like next level. But so
it was
much
cathartic,
of it. Yeah,
right?
it was cathartic. And it was like to see these characters, like their stories lined up to these songs. There was just something so exciting about it. And it like makes you feel the song in a different way.
100%. Like, you know, it'd be like something like Linkin Park or something
Yeah,
like that.
totally.
You know, like just seeing like a Naruto scene to that. You're like,
Yeah.
oh.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you like what. So then, when did you get into anime? Because that's various on the other side of the spectrum. Then
Yeah, I think like I said, like
VeggieTales.
Monday through Friday, I should say Monday through Thursday, we were kind of allowed to watch whatever we wanted as long as it was on television. It was for kids. So like we were into Dragon Ball Z, we were into you know Pokemon the show or whatever it was, because my parents worked a lot. They worked. They were both nurses, both did like doubles. So they weren't there to watch us and see what we were watching, except for Friday night through Saturday night. So I think I was always kind of into those things. I just never got to experience them to their full potential. Because, like you pointed out early, that's like outside of school when you could like go to a convention like that. Or like I
Yeah.
imagine those conventions were on Saturdays.
I'm sure that of course,
Like, you know,
Yeah.
and like, so like I just never got to like go all in, or like my parents would never like spend money on like the shirts or anything like that. So I think like my fandom kind of just like stopped at I watched the show.
What did that feel like for you? Did you feel like you were being held back?
100%. Yeah. I was very jealous of like, you know, the kid with like a Dragon Ball Z backpack or something. Like even in New York, I felt like my parents did it the most strict. Like I felt like there were other kids who I'd see and they'd be like, but their mom's letting them watch TV, and then my mom would be like, well, isn't it a benefit that like I care more about your soul or
Wow.
whatever bullshit she'd say.
Maybe she did. You don't know.
No, yeah, but like, you know, like she was very, you know, my cousins also lived in New York, and their mom was kind of what your experience where like, you know, my cousin Sebastian, his mom would be like, yeah, let's try to go this Saturday. And Sebastian would have all the latest toys and all the cool shit. And I was just like, why can't she be my mom?
Yeah. It's such an interesting thing that you just like, you wanted these things and your mom drew the line. Was there ever anything that she softened on.
You know, yes, and I should give her some credit. Saturday night, again, favorite time. My brother and I would sit at the window and just watch the sun. And then we'd be like, Mom, it's out of the sky. She's like, it's still light out. And be like, God damn it, come on, get dark.
Yeah.
Like, it would be
so you loved winter.
Oh, I
because
love winter.
it's-
Oh, yeah, I hated summer.
Wow.
Yeah, I hated summer so
the idea,
much.
like 4:30, the sun's down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where in winter it'd be like it's 8 o'clock, the sun's still fucking up. I hate this. Yeah, I hated summer so fucking much growing
that's
up Adventist.
wild.
But once the sun was down, we could watch TV. And as a family, we'd all go to my aunt's house and we would watch TNT. And this is crazy now I'm thinking about it, but TNT on Saturday nights would show action movies.
Mhm.
So Chuck Norris, Steven Seagal, Will Smith, Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Mhm.
My parents let me watch all of that stuff from like a very early age.
So like ultra violence was
Ultra
cool.
violence, but no sex.
So American.
Yeah, that is pretty American.
No
yeah.
sex. We always have to close our eyes during kissing
Yeah.
scenes. But,
But I'm
I've
going-
watched Steven
God
Seagal chop down a lot of
Yeah.
people.
God forbid I see someone receiving pleasure, but if
Yeah.
I see them get their head shot off.
Yeah, they were pretty loose about that. Like, and it was like cousins, like extended family. We'd all sit down and just watch TNT.
Mm-hmm. So how far did your fandom of Christian rock go? Did you see performances? Were you?
No, and I can explain why. So like, a majority of Christianity follows right like a Sunday rule of like that's when they go to church and stuff like that. So it was almost weird where like I was allowed to like this music, but I couldn't all the way be a fan of it because there was this block in when they did things. So a lot of the shows would be a part of like a Sunday church service and stuff like that. And again, Adventists are very elitist, I guess is probably the best word for it, where they think that everyone else is not only doing it wrong, but will all go to hell because of it. And so I wasn't allowed to go see any of those shows because they were usually done by a denomination that wasn't Adventist.
Okay. What were social events that were acceptable for you? Then?
I love that you asked that. There's Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts. We had a thing called Pathfinders, which was the Adventist version of that. It was co-ed, and that was kind of like our youth programs where we would go camping or we would, get badges on a sash and stuff like that. There were different classes that you would go up in, and like that was my youth culture up until I was like 16 years old.
Oh,
Okay.
wow.
16, 17.
So you were in this for a very long
Oh,
time.
I was deep.
Like when did you decide to exit the church?
My cousin Sebastian moved in with us in high
With
school.
all the cool stuff.
All the cool stuff. He ended up moving in with us because he was getting in trouble in school in Georgia.
It's too many Dragon Ball Z backpacks.
Too many Dragon Ball Z backpacks, let him get a little wild. I mean, I remember him telling me about losing his virginity at the age of 12. And I was like, maybe my mom was onto something.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, he moved in with us and like, he then had to be forced to go to church on Saturday, which was like a very tough adjustment for him because he was just like, this is not what my life back home is like at all. And was really struggling with it. The church that I went to in Texas was a pretty big church, like had like a production to it, very like, they're very proud to be a good church. You know what I mean? And so what ended up happening was Sebastian, again, struggled to like sit there and watch a sermon, but he got in with like the AV people. Like, we would have camera crews and the music was like very well produced. Like it could have been televised.
Was it good lighting?
Extremely good lighting. And so Sebastian kind of got into that crew and was like helping out with like the sound stuff. And like he found a way to fit into this thing. But what ended up happening was the church people realized that he wasn't baptized in Adventism. And so they told him that he wasn't allowed to do it anymore. And that was just like confusing to me because I was like, you got him.
Yeah.
You got this dude to buy in.
Yeah.
Like you had to fight him every Saturday to come here. But now he's excited to come here and participate in it. And you're being like, nah, you can't do that.
You're to the letter of the law. on
Right.
this.
Yeah, he's not baptized, so he can't be a part of the service. Even though he like was in the background. I was like, dang, even like your PA's gotta be like
Wow.
baptized.
That's intense.
So you
Yeah.
saw the injustice in that situation.
Yeah. I mean, please give 15-year-old me that credit of seeing injustice. But it just like kind of wrinkled my brain a little bit.
Mhm.
And I think I just started doubting from there. And then another thing that happened was we went to public school my sophomore year and junior year.
That'll do it.
Oh,
right
yeah.
there.
I sat in a biology class one time and I was like, wait a minute. What do you mean millions and millions of years ago? Because, like, in Adventist school, I swear to God, our textbooks were also Christian textbooks, like our science textbooks. So, like,
ours were, actually, one of the schools I went to, the chapter of evolution, we had to like remove it.
Yep, same.
Yeah.
So going to public school and hearing dissenting thoughts, I think, like, really, that plus watching how Sebastian was treated really just fucked with my brain.
Mm-hmm.
And then I smoked weed, guys. I smoked weed. That's what happened. I smoked
That'll
weed.
do it.
Lost my virginity, and
The rest is
Welcome
history.
to hell.
I kind of love it here.
No,
Jesus never swooped in and saved you.
Never did. He kind of just kept letting me get beat up.
Yeah, really.
How did you feel about, how would you have felt about a kid like me then, who clearly wasn't on the same page as you were? Did you think like, oh, well, nice enough guy, but he's in trouble in the big picture?
When I was 8 or 9, I would have told you to your face you were going to hell.
Okay.
Like that, I was like obnoxious about it. But as the older I got, I think I was like more drawn and jealous of a kid like you. Like
Okay.
I wanted to have your life because I started being like denied things. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Yeah, when I was 7, I told my father he was going to hell.
Yeah. Because you take it so like you're kids, so like they're telling you like these are hard, fast rules.
Yeah,
So you
and they
believe
do
them.
teach you to say that to people.
Yeah.
It's like that's the it's like I was taught to ask people immediately when you meet them, have you accepted Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior?
Absolutely.
And like, and my parents were just like, I guess this is just what she's gonna be like. No, so my dad likes to remember it the incorrect way because he'll be like, he's like, remember you, because it was about the Big Bang Theory.
Right.
We had been taught that was a lie, and I came home and asked my dad, do you believe in the Big Bang Theory? And he was like, yeah, probably I do. Yeah, it was probably something like that. That was the creation of the universe. And I was just like, you're a heathen and you're going to hell.
Absolutely.
And like, and then in his memory, he's like, and that's when we pulled you out of that school because we knew it was crazy. And I was like, I went there for another 5 years. So yeah, it really took you
It's
a
so
minute.
easy to pull someone out of school.
Yeah.
It takes
Yeah.
5 years to get you out.
Yeah.
Because it is a good school.
It was a very good school.
Yeah, not having a school, but I'm sure your school's very good.
So you smoke some weed.
Mm-hmm.
The devil takes a hold of you.
Yeah.
Your temptation is running wild.
Absolutely.
And how did that land with your family?
It didn't land very well. That's like right around 17, 18. That's when we're looking at colleges. And so I really wanted to go to University of Texas. I also thought I could get into NYU. I couldn't. And then I also wanted to go to School of Visual Arts in New York. And I was really, really chasing the film thing hard. And they were deeply against that. It was a lot of turmoil, a lot of fighting. So my junior year, I convinced my parents that I did believe in God and proved it to them by returning back to Christian school my senior year. Ulterior motives there. My brother went to a different Christian school that was rivals with the Christian school that I was going to, and I wanted to play him in basketball. That's like part of it as well. But like I was like finding it hard to have my parents buy into the degree that I wanted to do. And I remember my mom being like, you can do film if you can find an Adventist film school. And so I also went to Adventist college.
Wow, dude.
Which was really fucked.
And where was that?
It's in Northern California.
Okay.
Like Napa Valley.
Okay. So another culture clash, just even geographical,
Yeah,
let
another
alone
one.
forgetting
Absolutely.
everything else. Now
Absolutely.
you're going from New York City to Texas to Napa Valley.
That's
So You're
right.
covering a lot of ground.
A lot of ground
not
and
much
all
time.
Adventist ground somehow.
Mhm.
But
And
yeah,
how strict was the college?
incredibly. Another thing, we were the liberal Adventist school because we were in California. There was one in Tennessee that was just like really rough. Like a lady would stand at the church doors and measure your skirts on Saturday to be like, is this an acceptable skirt length? I never had a problem with that. But I just like long skirts. It was a dry lifestyle policy.
Okay.
And what that means is like most schools, it's like, hey, don't drink on our campus. Most Christian schools. Ours was, as long as you are a student here, I don't give a fuck where you are, you cannot drink alcohol. So we're all here on this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
You guys offer me a beer. I crack it. We're on a stream here.
Mm-hmm.
if the school were to get wind of that, that would be cause for suspension and or expulsion.
Wow.
Even if I wasn't on campus.
Wow, that's really interesting.
Doesn't matter how old I am either.
Really?
Yeah. You signed a conduct to be at that school.
Okay.
11 p.m. curfew. Guys and girls stayed in different dorms unless they were married. Guys were not allowed to visit women's dorms except for one day every quarter. They would do visitation day, which was the horniest day of
Yeah, I was
the
going to say,
year.
wait, what?
Yeah, no, this
Wait,
sounds-
what? Is
Yeah.
like a prison visitation guy?
Yeah. And we had to
Okay.
keep the doors open and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very strict. Very
That's
strict.
so much.
Right.
But did you ever, sorry, you
No,
go
no,
on.
no.
Did you ever have like a formal conversation with your mother? Like
When I was out?
Yeah.
Nah.
So we're just gonna, if she listens to this podcast, it's gonna be the first time she hears that you're not a
I
member
think
of the
she
church?
knows at some point. You know, I've got tattoos. I wear gold chains. I think she knows to some degree, but there's always going to be. So my ex and I, we went back for like their 30th anniversary in Texas one time, and we were all staring at this Airbnb, and my mom got my ex and I separate bedrooms, which was insane because I lived with my ex.
Right.
And my ex was like, fuck that, come upstairs. And so I was upstairs in her room. And the next morning, my mom was like making breakfast. And she was like, to my dad, she's like, Serge, ask Edgar what he wants for breakfast. And I was like, oh, I'll take some eggs. And then she's like, ask him how he wants the eggs cooked. I'm right here.
Oh,
but she
wow.
was livid because she figured out that
Yeah.
I didn't sleep in that bed. And so I think in her mind, there's still a little bit of a cognitive dissonance.
Sure.
And this belief that one day I'll just turn back around and come home. But yeah, I think she refuses to acknowledge that like I'm pretty out.
Yeah, and are they accepting now of your career?
Yeah.
Cool.
I think when you fly your parents out to come to vacation, they're like, oh, you know, this film thing's pretty nice. You
Yeah,
know,
I know, I was
think
gonna
it's
say.
yeah, but they weren't for a very long time. Not until I started working consistently.
Cool.
With the culture, the Christian rock and the culture of Christian entertainment, what you said that you'll occasionally, if you're just in a place, you'll play music on a playlist.
Absolutely.
Other than that, what kind of hold does that have on you now? Does it inform things? Like, is it the opposite of what you want to do? Are there still parts where that speak to you? Where does it fit in your mindset as an adult?
I think it's kind of like, and I don't know if you guys have anything that you feel about this with, is like in a room, someone will like make a joke about something, and like I'll kind of be like, well, that's not actually how the Bible story goes. It's actually like, and I just feel like the way it impacts me is that I have, especially because I went to Adventist school, I have so much knowledge about all of this, and they may be a little rusty now, but like I'm like they'll be like, oh, well, you know, Moses and Abraham. I'm like, well, they didn't know each other. Actually, that's his great-great-grandfather. And they're like, you know, like I just have so much information that I don't know how to apply it, I guess. And I don't think it necessarily has a hold on me. However, there are times where I'll come into something that like bumps me a little weird or feels a little strange. And I'll be like, ooh, that's that upbringing that I think still kind of tugs at me. My dad said that every story in movies and television is just a different Bible story. Like they all stole it from the Bible. And I find that to be true sometimes. I'm like, oh yeah, that's Job, or like that's like, you know, whatever it is. But yeah, I don't think it's holding. I hope it's not holding me.
Well, do you ever feel? Well, here's one, because I felt this in certain ways in rooms when it came to, you know, as a teen, I had a pretty sizable thing with mental health and all this stuff.
Right.
And then when you're in a room and people start talking about stuff in a completely mocking way of stuff, is there ever, because I would say, look, if somebody goes and talks, I went through stuff where I had to ultimately get like ECT, and it was whatever. You can read my book.
Yeah, when people, when people talk about like being crazy or being in
exactly, or when they start just
or,
joking about it in a way that it's just like there's like an edge to it.
Yeah.
Even if like intellectually I'm like, oh, of course, this is not a thing, but there's still like that thing in my gut where I'm just like, hey, this is me.
Yeah,
Right.
I get a little defensive of it because I do think that it's silly that these people are doing this and that they're singing these songs. But I think that we take for granted, and I've been mean to my mom for the last 45 minutes, so I guess I'll try to be nice to her.
Oh no,
See,
but
I don't think you have
I don't
at
think that
all.
at all. I
Oh,
totally
thank you.
understand that she. I
But
mean,
when she listens to this, she'll say it. So I'm just giving her,
Sure, you're saying
uh,
we'll put a thing at the beginning of it for your mother.
but it's like she clearly cared so much about you.
Not only that, but like I try to look at it from her eyes. You come to this country, you don't speak a lick of English. You struggle in American public schools and all this stuff because she was Catholic when she came to this country. And all of a sudden you hear about this thing called Adventism and you kind of get into it. And there's other Haitian people in it and you develop this community. And, oh, look at that young, nice, handsome guy. He looks cool. You guys start dating. And then you hear about nursing because, you know, Adventists and nursing are very, very good. Best hospital in Glendale is an Adventist hospital. So like you get into healthcare and you find your job and then you marry that guy. Then you have a school that is really nice and you put your kids in that school and they get a pretty solid education. They do well for themselves. Hell fucking yeah, you're going to buy into that system for the rest of your life.
Absolutely.
Everything came to it.
Yeah.
And I understand it because I still go to UCB shows, even though I'm 33 and should probably stop doing improv. But it's where I met so many important people in my lives and all that. And I think that we all have a version of that. It just so happens to hers is based on a guy who's in the sky looking over her.
Completely. Yeah. I mean, community is humans need it.
100%.
Yeah. And it's like where you find your people that you're comfortable with and that like make you feel excited and at home. Then it's like, yeah.
Yeah, but just don't take your kids out of a basketball game halfway through. Like, I feel like that's like where I draw
can't make
my
any
line.
promises.
Well, you can, but I still think you can in those six. Like we would have won that game going away. If only you let me at there. Let me. It's like that thing where you're hoping somebody holds you back from a
Right.
fight. Let me at him. Let me at. Wait, nobody's holding me back.
Oh crap! Yeah.
No, it's really there's just a common thread through so much of this stuff. It's like it's so much is looking for something and trying to find something.
Right.
Whether it was your mother doing it or you doing it in reaction to the world that your parents built around you.
Right.
So yeah, and you going to UCB, sure, I'm sure your angel is outside in improv. I don't know if angels would be allowed in
I don't think they go in there.
theater.
Yeah, no.
Angel, I'm sure Angel would be just going, I'm good, actually.
Yeah, they're more
No, you can
stand up.
come in.
Yeah, they're more stand up.
Yeah, they're more stand up. No, it's really amazing, and it's very generous of you to tell everybody about this stuff because it's your story. So.
Yeah, and it did give me a baseline for culture. Like I found it very easy to just take out the Christianity of it and then just add like, you know, like I was like, oh, Mercy Me and Coldplay sound the same. Like, you know, like all of this sounds like punk rock. Like it's all the same shit. It's just they're not talking about God.
Have you ever written your own Christian song?
Yes, I have.
Really?
Yeah, I love music, and yeah, I definitely have written a couple of Christian rock songs. Yeah.
Are they
recorded?
They're not recorded, thankfully.
Okay.
But yeah, me and my brother, we were in a Christian a cappella group.
Okay,
Oh
well,
my
now
God.
we need to.
That's amazing.
So, what was the name of the group?
Oh, what was the name of it? Oh my God. Probably something really bad. But it was me, my brother, my cousin, and our friend Dwayne. And we would sing a cappella and stuff like that.
And what was your
music.
what's your vocal range?
I was a bass.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, well,
So
yeah. I was a soprano.
You're like, I'm a soprano. It's like, hey, you wait to see how
I was a
low this-
mezzo, yeah, you know. I was hitting
So
all
I had
behind
that
this
question
group
left in my
goes.
mouth. I was like,
Yeah.
that was the dumbest
Yeah.
question.
No.
So, what did you perform out? Or?
Yeah. I was really, I mean, I think that's why the Christian music spoke to me so much, the Christian rock, because I was so into the music side of it. I was in advanced choir when I was in Christian school and stuff like that. We would travel Texas and recruit. Something that's true about all Adventist schools, they're all underfunded unless they're in like a very populous area. So like we would like travel Texas and sing at churches to like be like, send your kid to this school. They can be like that.
Yeah.
And
what was the biggest crowd you ever played for?
There was every year we would do this thing called Music Fest in Dallas that I think was like at this big amphitheater there. So like we performed there and that was pretty huge.
Wow. It's funny. I have a friend who is he's the main guy in this band called Danielson, the Danielson family, who they're religious.
Right.
And their whole thing was every style of music was allowed in as long as it was faith-based.
Right.
Except for them. They were like too weird. They were like the only group that got told like, no, well, actually, I think we'll do the next year's without you guys.
Right.
Like, and there was a family group. It's really amazing, but they just were very arty and strange. And I think they pushed that side of it. There's a documentary about it. So it's a really cool documentary.
I gotta check
about
that
the
out.
story. Yeah. But it's just like they were like the one group that cracked the code on how to figure out how wide the tent went. It's just like they were not allowed back in the tent.
I totally get where it's coming from. Yeah, there used to be this thing called the Gather family reunion, and it was like this massive thing. It was the Gather family, and they invite like your friend was saying, all these different singers, and like there'd be the gospel song. And these were like 2-hour, 3-hour revival concerts.
Sure.
I feel like like that kind of vibe would probably be missing from that, but
yeah, that people weren't looking for a guy shrieking like an 8-year-old.
In terms of other Christian programming for children, did you ever watch a show about a walking psalm book named Salty?
Yep.
What did you think about
He's
that
purple,
guy?
right?
He was blue.
Blue, yeah. And he was like a felt
a gigantic psalm
felt
book.
thing.
He
I
walks
watched
around.
him. I think he also had like a crossover with Mother Goose.
Yeah, they were buds.
Yeah. I watched that show. Yeah, I watched.
Did you remember? It was like a show that was a kid, and then he drew this little character. His name McGee. It was like McGee and Me. It was in this little. It was like a live action show, but there was a little animated character that he.
No, I don't remember that one.
Okay.
Did you ever watch the very classic Davy and Goliath?
Yes, I've seen Davy and Goliath.
I would watch Davy and Goliath on Sunday mornings, but it was more about my love of television. To be just like, I guess I'm watching Davy and Goliath.
I know. I was like, I love animation. I guess I'll watch this.
Yeah, no, that show is, Moral Oral hits so hard for me
my God,
now
that must
because,
have,
yeah, that show,
Yeah.
like, I relate to Oral a lot.
Yeah, for sure.
Daisy.
I hate that fucking dog.
Is there anything that when you look back that you couldn't check out or you saw 2/3 of where you're just like, wait, so that's what that was? Or that's like
that I actually saw the ending of it?
Yeah, or even like that's what that band sounds like or anything like that was like it was forbidden, but you just now you have control over your things and you can piece these things back together.
Yeah, did you get to see The Sixth Sense?
Yeah.
I still have not seen The Sixth Sense.
Wait,
I
what?
still haven't finished Never Ending Story.
Is there a twist waiting for you? You're the only person that doesn't know the twist.
I don't know.
Wait, hold on. Do you not know the twist in Sixth Sense?
I do know the twist in Sixth
Okay,
Sense.
that's fine. I was gonna
Popular
be like-
culture ruined that movie for me
I was
a
gonna
long
be
time
like,
ago. But
there's one person in America that still doesn't know the twist.
No, I do know it, but I've never watched it. So I still don't know how Never Ending Story ends. What's the one where the kid like goes to a library and reads a book and then all of a sudden becomes a cartoon? Oh yeah,
Is that the
the
Macaulay
Page
Culkin one?
Master.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I still don't know how that one ends. I was watching that at my friend's house and
Get
it got
ready.
pulled out.
That got pulled out, really.
I got pulled out. I don't remember how that one ends. But the thing to answer your
Everybody
question,
dies.
is that what happened in Page Master?
No,
It looks
I
so
don't know.
fun. I remember being like excited, and then
Yeah.
my mom was like, "Let's go," and I was like, "God damn it, what happens at the end of that movie?" Because we weren't allowed to get VHSs or anything like that.
Once again, that was a show about walking books.
Yeah, a lot of walking books.
Whoopi Goldberg was a book.
Okay.
Yeah, bacon is probably the thing.
Okay.
When I got it, I was like,
When you
why-
actually
why
tried
I like
bacon.
this so much. This
Yeah.
is kind of mid. And then shrimp. It's a lot of food things, I would say.
Sure.
Shrimp,
Okay. Well, food thing. So
mid. So don't get it. I don't get it.
So you don't know? Is there any seafood that makes sense to you?
I love crab.
Okay.
I love crab. It's so good. And I just started eating crab 3 years ago. I fucking love crab. It's so fucking good. Like I'm like, how was I missing it? It's so crazy. So I remember someone asked me like, "Oh, do Haitian people eat like a lot of like seafood?" And I was like, "No, we don't." And then I met a non-Adventist Haitian person, and they're like, "That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. We're an island. Of course we eat seafood." It's like, right. That was I grew up Adventist, and I didn't know that like they eat seafood. Coffee doesn't hit for me.
Okay.
Coffee. Okay.
Yeah, that was one that we weren't allowed to do. But I'm trying to think of like something that's like music. I mean, I guess like Spielberg doesn't really do it for me.
Okay.
I finally saw E.T. and I was like, whatever.
You're
Sure.
not a Jurassic Park guy.
I'm not a Jurassic Park
you
guy.
don't give a shit about dinosaurs.
Don't give a shit about dinosaurs.
How about Weezer? When you said Weezer, did Weezer?
That hit. Oh, that hit
Okay.
hard. Yeah.
So
That
you're
was
finally
college.
like, this album, it's got a blue cover.
Yeah.
Every song's a hit on this thing.
Yeah. Man, that was all college, man. At college, I was like, listening to all this shit for the first time.
Yeah. You must have been like a
Nirvana.
sponge, like taking it all in.
I loved all of it. Beatles. That's another one. Doesn't hit for me.
Doesn't land.
Doesn't
Okay.
hit.
Well, look.
That's for you guys.
for the heathens.
Yeah, so you guys can have
You
it. I
listen
don't
to
need
that
it.
in your journey to hell. You listen to your
I
Beatles
don't need
music.
it. Oh man, the first time I heard Stairway to Heaven,
Uh-huh.
that shit slapped so fucking hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were warned about Stairway to Heaven in
Yeah.
Sunday school.
Yeah, because I think that one is like backwards, supposed to say
Yeah.
something.
Oh, yeah, no, that-
Also, Hotel California.
Hotel California was another satanic song that I heard later
So
on in life that I was
satanic.
like, yo, this is so good.
And I remember there was like a thing like Judas Priest. They played it backwards.
Yeah.
I'm thinking it's like, listen to this. It's like, get the gun. Get the gun.
Yeah.
Shoot, 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 shoot. Get the gun. Get the gun. I was
a
like,
good song.
that's a cooler song than this
Yeah,
one. I listened to
yeah.
a song called Get the Gun, Shoot, Shoot,
Yeah.
Shoot.
The
Like,
time it would take to sit down and listen to all those songs backwards, looking for messages, like what are these fucking freaks doing?
Yeah.
and you also just break your turntable. It's
Yeah.
not supposed to go backwards. The needle gets ruined. It's like Satan's not doing a good job of.
No.
One thing I will say is like with Led Zeppelin, they'd be like, "Oh, it's Satan and all this stuff," and then like Jimmy Page from Led Zeppelin was kind of just like, "Yeah, you know, that stuff. Some of that stuff was about Satan." You know, like you're just like you're like you're like, "Well, okay, maybe you shouldn't have said that out loud," but people were not 100% wrong on. Some
Yeah, there's a couple of stuff that like I saw. Like I remember when I saw Slipknot for the first time, and I was just like, "No, yeah, this is the devil." Yeah, I think like I don't know this.
Yeah. So Edgar, what is going on? What are you up to now? You said everybody still hates.
Everybody
Chris.
still hates Chris. September 25th on Comedy Central. I don't know how to watch that. Hopefully you do.
Yeah.
I don't know where that channel is.
Just-
They just shut down comedycentral.com, so I definitely don't know how to watch it.
I guess it'll be on one of the streamers. They'll just
Yeah, at some point.
Yeah.
We're not doing next day, but like yeah, check it out. September 25th. You know, we say it's a reboot, but it's actually not a reboot. It picks off literally seconds after the original show ends.
Oh,
wow.
cool.
Okay.
But it's animated now.
hmm
Oh,
So that's 2024 for you and improv.
2024.
Are you up and about? Do people
Up
see
and
you
about
doing
second
it?
Thursday, 7 p.m. First Thursday, sorry, at UCB. Come see First Dates with Leroy. My team, we go on a first date with an audience member and then do scenes about it. Come
Oh,
through,
that's
check
really
that out.
Oh, that's amazing.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
It was not my idea. And then, yeah, I do Ask Cat every now and then. I don't know when I'll do it, but maybe show up and I'll be on.
Just people of LA, keep your antenna up.
Yeah. All of my plugs are LA specific, even the Comedy Central one. That's
Sure.
like, if you're in another region, don't watch.
Yeah, don't do it.
thank you so much for coming
I
on.
love
Yeah.
talking to you guys.
It's so much
Appreciate
fun
it.
and
Yeah.
so interesting. And thanks again for everything. And we'll be back with another episode of Outgrown.
Absolutely.
very soon.
See you
Thanks,
next time.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye.